Ah, my God, that scared me, ladies and gentlemen. That text indicates that it is time for part 3 of Day 9 Daily number 519, where we learn to be a better gamer. Watcha! First of all, very popular. Very excited. Also, we've been looking at this game between Koss and Thorzain about the consistency of play, that all our pieces are working together. And I've just been really liking the way that Koss exploded out of this awkward situation at the start into really locking down the map, and it has caught Thorzain quite a bit off guard. I think Thorzain was not prepared to have that kind of pushback, and big credit to Koss for coming up with it. Perhaps Thorzain could have alleviated the stress he was under with an earlier bunker or that sort of thing, maybe abandoning his plan to build all those extra Hellions and Vikings early on. But still, I think Thorzain essentially made a read on the situation that was out of inexperience. Like, oh god, no one goes reactor factory and reactor barracks and then puts pressure back. So we're seeing Koss step into some good, into a good spot. In this spot, what a lot of Terran players will do, I actually don't think it's unreasonable to lift this factory, land it with a tech lab, and just begin production of more tanks there. There's really not any use that can be gained from these Hellions, so I think it is smart that this medevac is popping out. Again, why are we building the medevac? This is one of these consistency of ideas type things. These Hellions suck right now. What are they going to do? Like, light the bunker's metal on fire? Everybody knows that metal doesn't burn. So of course it won't do anything. God. And this is a way to extend the use of these Hellions. It's a way to go, God, these Hellions really aren't doing anything. Let's do something out of them. Cool. 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 Koss, let's see, what do I think about this medevac? I'm actually not a big fan of this. Guys, I know metal can burn. Okay, I thought that was the joke. Literally, my entire chat is people, well, magnesium. Potassium can very much so, like... This is a show about StarCraft and lying, okay? These are my two core things. This is what makes the daily what it is. Oh man. That was so good. Science. Totally lost my train of thought. I'm actually not a big fan of this. I don't really see what it accomplishes. The only reason this would be doing something is that we're thinking, you know what? My opponent has absolutely nothing at home because he has all his Hellions up here. But I don't see what else. This just seems sacrificial. Now let's actually talk about why this would be sacrificial in the context of what we've seen. I mean, I just don't. I'm trying to explain more reasons why why this medevac drop would be good. This is not something that's specific to this game or to map control or anything. This is just dropping theory. A drop should have a clear goal in mind with it, and I just don't see what goal would go on with this. I would probably keep everything back and just have a stronger push with the rest of these dudes. The only reason I think that this could possibly occur, why someone would argue that this was a reasonable attempt, is it ensured that either we get room to move out with our push, or we do a lot of damage with this drop. But even so, I think that Koss could have accomplished all that, no problem. So as we speed things up, Thorzain, I think, is doing a very smart play. He has everything spread out here. I'm going to be on the defensive for a while longer, so I may as well act like it. And again, see the starport, see how it's getting a reactor? This factory isn't really needed to make Hellions. Lift it, make a tech lab, lift that, give it to the reactor. Give it to das Reaktor. And this, even though it might not be doing a whole lot of damage, is still making use out of units that are overall useless. But this is what I love about what Koss did. Not only does his opening give him total map control, he also has a much more fleshed out tech structure, with he has all the add-ons that he needs. And because he put on so much pressure with having that map control, with having that aggression, Thorzain is going to be way behind on his tank production. In fact, Thorzain is what? Thorzain is delayed. Why? We got the read on him that he was delayed because we walked a bunch of units here and delayed his expansion. And we saw in his base with our Banshee, he's delayed. Anytime your opponent is delayed, exploit it in some way. Expand is the most basic one. Thorzain did that at the start of this game. He expanded himself. And the opportunity to take map control, do it. And the rest of this game is actually pretty straightforward. I won't actually focus too much on this unless there's something notable. Thorzain also doing another decision that I find to be unusual. Getting the reactor on this factory instead of the third tech lab. In a position where meching players have zero map control, their biggest tool is going to be tanks and denying drops. Sort of creeping out here with tanks. These Hellions are much more of a harassment-focused slash map control-focused units. But I'm sure a lot of the reason behind this is just that Thorzain plainly doesn't have the resources for it. He's on 3 geysers. He's trying to get double upgrades. I'd probably go for just a single armory here. I think the double armory wouldn't have helped as much with that. And actually, I think that that's a reasonable point to note. Let's talk again about consistency of play. If we are delayed on our tank protect, we're actually delayed in all ways, shapes, and forms. Our opponent is gearing up to do a map control play. It does make sense to say, hey, I'm going to stay at home, and I'm just going to get my double upgrades up, because I'm not going to be doing anything now. I'm only going to be winning way down the line. Completely reasonable. This, on the other hand, this factory with the Hellions, I probably would have gone for a 4th command center. Just like a macro command center. Getting the Hellions doesn't accomplish that much for us, I feel. With the one exception, if we feel completely screwed, we know we need some kind of miracle to be able to get into any good position, and we just need some frickin' cannon fodder. That is the only circumstance where I'm like, yeah, I like that. But I bluntly think the big reason why Thorzain is looking to be in this position right now has nothing to do with his logic or anything other than the fact that he was thrown off guard at the start of the game. Thrown off guard and is in a position that's very uncomfortable. Koss does this really kick-ass move. This is so sweet. Dude, watch this. This is so great. He literally pulls all his Marine Marauder as far away as possible from all these Hellions and leaves his siege tanks way in the front. That was such a great play. That was the sickest thing ever. And now we very much so see Thorzain in that shape. So generally, players who have been focusing on tanks all game long just keep all their tanks sieged up, keeping these defensive positions, but Koss has just been macroing too much like a beast. And just looks for vulnerable spots like you would normally do in this matchup, and because he's weakened his opponent so much, it is going to work. And as you might expect, with map control, we expand. If we have delayed our opponent, expanding is always a great tool. Most of the analysis was at the start. This is the result. This situation that Koss finds himself in, where he's able to take all these expansions like a lunatic, is just the fact that Koss was able to battle for map control and then do a follow-through with it really effectively. And that's probably the one big thing I want to conclude with in this daily, is that gaining the map control allows you to do something. Actually, that's a weirdly worded sentence. it's hard to do... Often it's hard to do a big play that you want to do, whether it be getting double upgrades, whether it be expanding, whether it be making a whole bunch of drones, whether it be getting all the infrastructure at home in your base that you want. If you have map control, you can do a big play. Map control allows you to do a big play. I like to emphasize the A. Emphasize a big play. So Koss got map control, and what was the big play that he was able to make as a result from it? He was able to get a better infrastructure up in his main, and he was able to start putting on a lot of pressure and continue to get map control. And as he had map control, he got another expansion. As he maintained map control, he got another expansion, and so on and so forth. Thorzain was able to get map control to get an expansion up, but then didn't have an answer to this pressure. So Koss was able to get all that great infrastructure up in the early game because he had such great map control. Other examples of people doing this, Zerg players who put up a whole bunch of harassment with Mutalisks and Zerglings in the way Life does. It allows them to get upgrades. It allows the Zerg to get a whole bunch of expansions. I mean, how many times have you been Terran trying to fend off all the things that are going on, and then finally, when you have defended the Mutalisks and the Zerglings, you move out and Zerg has the whole map. And he has a ton of units. Zerg had almost no units for most of that time. Only recently has Zerg gotten a lot of units. He had map control the entire time leading up to that. How many times have you played against a Protoss player, especially in PvP, where Blink Stalkers are harassing you, you're trying to defend, and as he's blinking around, he's expanding, he's starting to tech up. And finally, when you think you have the perfect Robo army and you have the Colossus and you move out, he has even more Colossi than you. That doesn't make any sense. Well, it does, because he stopped at 12 Stalkers and then began building stuff like mad back home. The big play he got to make was building no units and building only tech. Really cool opportunities arise with map control. So Empire Koss, who battled hard to seize map control to get the expansion, was able to put on more pressure, was able to get his Marine Marauder into the middle of the map, was able to get up all those buildings back home that he needed, and this is the final result of the scene. Thorzain, you'll note, was unable to do any of that. So there's the good game. Well played! Let's take questions, and then I'm going to go eat dinner. One of my prime allies is cooking tonight. I believe it's turkey loaf. Turkey loaf. I would try to get some sort of smell from the kitchen, but my nose is stuffy. I don't know if it's allergies or not. As I'm F5ing, I'll note there will be a daily on Sunday. Feel free to hop on over to the brand new Day9.TV forums and give me suggestions on stuff you would like discussed. And when you do that, please provide a link to the replay. If you say something like, talk about the GSL finals, I sadly can't because I don't have access to the GSL replays and I can't restream GSL footage because, you know, that's subscriber only. Oh, is the question grabber not working? Okay, cool. On Monday, I will be playing Amnesia expansion Justine, so come watch me. King Pulu says, Day9, do you think Thorzain could have held by just building more tanks and turtling more? I'm going to answer that question at 3 different stages of play. Do I think that tanks could have had a better outcome on things? I think that right at the 8-minute mark is an interesting moment in play where Thorzain had already chosen not to go down the tanking route. He had elected not to do that. I do think that a bunker and then tank production would have been an excellent way to fend off this, especially if it was like a bunker, depot, and a tank. There's every... In fact, if we just look at the time, yeah, this factory would have been done. Siege tank takes 50 seconds. Siege mode takes 80 seconds. Pretty sure it's 80 seconds. So we would have had siege mode up in time. So yeah, I think that Thorzain could have held it off here. But again... Pretend that Thorzain had no idea what Koss was doing. Pretend Koss was going Banshee or going an early expand. In those circumstances, Thorzain's Hellion Viking play would have been great. Would have been totally great. And yeah, tanks would have helped here, but Thorzain couldn't have necessarily known that exactly this was coming, and there's a number of ways that Thorzain could have responded to be in a slightly better spot. Let's answer that question. What about tanks in this mid-game circumstance? I do think that getting this double geyser production up very early and transitioning into tank production now would have helped loads. If you're going mech, the instant this is down, getting that double Vespene. But Thorzain did not do that, and I think that that's the big reason why it felt untankable at this point. But yeah, this is the moment when most players begin abandoning big map control plays as mech and favor harassment, counter-harassment with drops, and just having a lot of tank tech. And I think that right here, given that Thorzain was low on gas already, I don't think there was much that Thorzain could have done right here. This is a really tough position, especially when this stuff happens. But I think Thorzain did a really reasonable thing. The biggest thing that came back to content. Is that loud for you or just for me? Well, maybe this will help. I think that Thorzain, in terms of pushing here, I think here it was less the tanks and more the over-aggressiveness. This is just a difficult angle for a mech player to pro-chat no matter what. Pulling these Hellions back would have helped a ton. This is just going to be tough no matter what. So yeah, I think that maybe Thorzain could have turtled a little bit more. But after this battle was done, I don't think there's any way Thorzain could have dealt with a player like Koss. This expansion is dead. Excuse me, needs to be rebuilt. Attacks are going to be coming. God, tanks are freaking loud units. Yeah, I think he was actually screwed at that point. I don't think there's anything that could have been done. But I do think for instance, the 6, I would call it a stylistic and optional choice to go for tanks instead of for the Hellions. But around 12, I think that it would have been a little bit more necessary to get the gas a little earlier. Let's go ahead and take 2 more questions. Sidious Knight says, Day 9, is it possible to overinvest in map control? Yeah, absolutely. Here are some shining examples of this. Before I give the shining examples, I will note that sometimes you can build the map control units with the logic of, well, if I control him enough with these I need so many of my map control unit, but I gain so much benefit of my map control unit that what I'm going to do is I'm going to only build that map control unit and focus only on map control, and then when we get in the final confrontation, I have the worst possible unit, but I have too many of them, and I will end up winning. An example of this is in Zerg vs. Protoss. Zerg said, well, to really control a Protoss, I need a lot of Mutalisks, a lot of Mutaling. But it forces a Protoss to be so defensive, I can take 5 bases. So, when finally he ends up moving out, I will have 50 Mutalisks, and he'll have 30 Stalkers, and I'll be able to win. Haha. Or, meching. Here's another example of that exact statement. I'm going to build only Marine Marauder Medevac, no tanks, map control. I'm going to keep that tank Hellioning player pinned back in his base. And then finally, when he moves out, I've had so long to build up infrastructure, and he's so weakened that he's at 150 food, and I'm at 200 with Marine Marauder, and I can crush his army from all sides. So that does happen many times. But the question was, can you overinvest in map control? Absolutely, if you consider something like that Mutalisking player who did not identify that he was not gaining any additional benefit by building those additional Mutalisks. This particularly happened in Zerg vs. Terran many moons ago, where Zerg players would just build too many Mutalisks, way too many Mutalisks, and then the final fight would happen and Marines would just kill them. Or in early Zerg vs. Terran, 4 Hellions will control space just as well as 8, 10, 12 Hellions were. But when StarCraft 2 first came out, people were overbuilding the amount of Hellions at the start of the game because they just thought, God, I really need a lot of Hellions to control this map, to lock shit down. I will almost always say that unless you are a super high-level Grandmaster player, try to get some map control and know what your next step is. Say something like, I'm going to open up with 3 barracks Marine Medevac to push out to his half of the base in Terran vs. Terran to gain map control. And when I do that, I'm going to take an expansion, and then I'm going to start building tanks. That's your next step. What are some other examples? My opponent is going to be is a Protoss player. I'm going to go Mutalisk Zergling, and once I get my 5th hatchery started, I'm going to immediately begin going drones and spines and infestors. That's what I'm going to do. And if you know what your map control play is and what your next step is, there's a ton of cool learning and interplay to be had there, where you can say things like, oh, damn, against a standard Protoss player, I'm not getting my infestors fast enough, so I need to have this transition happen earlier. Ooh, wow, I ended up having way too many spine crawlers, but I didn't get my hive early enough, so okay, I want I want to stretch this out a little bit more. Or, wow, I'm not actually getting any map control. I'm going for the infestors way too fast and not battering him down. You have these 2 distinct things that you can adjust. The best map control units for each race are the following. Marine Marauder is the big one for Terran. Hellions and Vikings are good, the fast units. Blink Stalkers for Protoss. Phoenixes and Air for Protoss. Kind of Warp Prism, but drops I'm not even going to count. For Terran, oh, we did Terran. Zerg, almost everything from Zerg is a pretty damn good map control unit. Roaches, Lings, Mutalisks. Banelings are not. They're shit. Infestors are shit. And again, infestors are really good. They're great units, but they're not map control units. You're never in the history of StarCraft has there been a point where a Protoss player said, well, God, that guy, wow, he has 15 infestors. I'm really worried about an infestor counterattack that I can't deal with at all. Better just not do anything. What players will do if they're smart, well, maybe incorrectly someone's thought that, but what a player will do if they're smart is go find where the infestors are and then just sort of head towards that. DTs are a reasonable-ish kind of map control unit because you need detection to be able to deal with them. But anything that I haven't listed is more of like units that are good in big engagements, are kind of the opposite of that. Infestors, great in big engagements. Fungals and infested Terrans, Guardians, or Broodlords, great in direct engagements. Tanks, great in direct engagements. Colossus and Immortals are great in direct engagements. So yeah, hope you have fun. Have a great weekend. Play some StarCraft. I strongly recommend hopping on and playing some Nexus Word Wars. I've been having a lot of fun with that. Hop on the Day9.TV forums, say what you'd like Sunday's Daily to be about, and then starting next week will be more scary games, and then the weekend afterwards, MLG Dallas. Hope you have a wonderful day. Go find someone on the internet and tell them they're awesome. Go find someone on Reddit and tell them your favorite thing about StarCraft. Do that on Team Liquid. Celebrate the joy of playing video games. Oh, let's play some video games. Oh yeah. Let's listen to some music.